Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Here.
Commissioner Lundberg,
Here.
and Commissioner Hobbs.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic, and one nation, God, visible, liberty, for all. Okay, thank you. And so tonight we have several items. We're gonna have a presentation with regarding the entertainment zone in Old Town and downtown Auburn. And then we also have 4 different public hearings. One is for a fence height setback at 265 Swenson Court. A second is, well, there are 3 actual permits for short-term rentals at 180 Glenfield, 133 Olive Street, and 10670 Sunrise. But our first item on the agenda tonight is for public comment. If anyone has comments to make that are not related to those items that will be covered under the agenda, now would be the time to do so. And if you do, please rise, come to the podium, state your name and address and the comment that you might have. Do we have any public comments this evening on items other than what is to be covered under the agenda? Okay, well, hearing none, then let's move right into the presentation. And Jonathan, you've got a presentation on the entertainment zone in Old Town and downtown.
Right. Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Planning Commission members. Jonathan Wright, Economic Development Director. Kind of an overview, not so much presentation, because I would have done more of a PowerPoint, but I did put in front of you a copy of the draft ordinance as well as some of the maps. And if anybody else in the audience, I have extras if anybody's interested in seeing what I'm talking about. It may become more interesting as I start talking about it, so we'll see. Feel free to stop me anytime. So we remember this thing called COVID, happened a while back, shut down a lot of stores, a lot of businesses. One of the state's reactions to that was, okay, well, let's create these areas where people can be outdoors. And so a lot of the breweries, a lot of the restaurants, a lot of those, things that were dependent on people sitting down and spending time were able to move their accommodations outside. The state then, after the end of the COVID emergency, rescinded that. The state's legislature looked back and went, that wasn't such a bad idea. There's some things there that, really could benefit, especially some of these smaller towns. And so they pushed that legislation forward. So SB 969 came out, went into effect in January of this year. And I went over to the Old Town and Downtown Business Associations and went, there's this kind of fun piece of legislation that just came out. And so what do you think? And they were all in. So since then, I've been talking to them about many of the requirements that are within this ordinance. It's pretty basic. So ABC kind of steps back and looks at it and goes, okay, cities, if you want to do this, then you create an ordinance, you create the time, place, and manner regulations, and then we basically help you enforce with your law enforcement folks. So this was draft working with the police chief and working with the districts to come up with kind of a win-win, at least experiment with it. It's an ordinance, we can rescind it, we can modify it, we can do whatever we need to. So this is just our first, open the door and see what happens. There was a little bit of a sense of urgency here because the districts wanted to try it out before the holidays. And given that I had to have a first reading, second reading, and allow 30 days before implementation, it'll be the day before Thanksgiving that it technically goes into effect, should it be granted. At the next city council meeting will be the second reading, so next Monday. From there, it's 30 days. The only way we could regulate the business side of it, so putting together business regulations so that when ABC said, oh, yes, you can do this, well, how does the city control that? I mean, if we have, I'm not saying we have bad actor businesses out there, but if we did have one that was frequently causing issues with over-serving or other issues, how do we then enforce that? And so I put a licensing provision in here. So they have to, every business that wants to do it has to have a license. Therefore, they are granted the ability to do this function And then if something were to happen, I have the ability to take it away. I also have the ability to say, okay, here's the parameters that you have to operate by. You have to educate your staff on telling people about, you know, where the ends of the zones are, how the thing works, and so forth. So if you get into it, they first require us to put together a legal description of the area in which this would be applicable. So basically, it applies to the public right-of-way and sidewalks for these entire areas. I put in a legal description, but I also was required to put a map together for graphical representation. So if you look at the first one, which is actually I have a bigger one here. We can do this really fun. Well, you're still not gonna be able to see it out there. The first one is the camera, the downtown area. So basically, it starts out by the Station Public House on Upper Lincoln or Lincoln Way, heads all the way down the hill through our commercial district there, drops down onto High Street. Now you notice there's a little bit of a dog leg to it that goes up High Street, and that's because working with the person at the PG&E building that's doing the renovation there, ultimately their goal is to also have a restaurant and bar. And so I wanted to think ahead and just put that in there so that when they had a chance, that it was already set out and I didn't have to go back and amend any boundaries. Then I took it all the way down to the State Theater on Lincoln Way. So looking at the State Theater's events that they put on where they do street closure, right now they don't even have to have an ABC license. They could just, since they have an ABC that they already use, they're able to use the provisions of this and use it for them to have a party in the streets. The events that happen in downtown, people can now leave the restaurant with their beverage and walk out and enjoy themselves there. One of the highlights here that we're hoping comes out, it's kind of an experiment, is that a lot of the businesses that close at 5 o'clock there that, you know, otherwise just don't stay open into the evening hours, they're going to start realizing there's people on the streets now and people are actually walking around and people are spending a little more time in their shops shopping. And if people are still sitting there after 5 o'clock, we're hoping that it kind of leads to a new culture where some of these business owners that refuse to stay open past 5 will start to learn that, hey, it's actually profitable to stay open past 5. And so creating that kind of vibe. Old Town was the same way. They were on board 100%. They obviously have a smaller area that they're dealing with, although they wanted to go all the way around the courthouse. And we originally mapped that and went, wait a minute, how are we going to keep people from walking outside this area? Because they legally are supposed to, if they have this beverage that comes from one of these ABC sales areas that are adjacent, so like down in Old Town, it would be, let's say, the Ale House or California Club, and they've walked out of there, they can't go past the boundaries there. So how do we regulate those if it goes all the way up and around the courthouse? It became very difficult, and ABC goes, you should probably start small and figure this thing out, and then if it's wildly successful, then looking at expanding how the program works. And again, that's one of the things with having the license provision for the ABC operators, because they're going to have to train their staff to tell people, here's what you got to do. We're letting you out of here with this thing, but you can't go any farther than those signs that are out there. When it says, you know, end of fun, do not cross with beverage, don't cross with your beverage. You know, otherwise we lose our privilege to do this, and it's a real benefit to the community. Both the business districts have set up kind of a business model with this. We put a provision in here that says that the cups have to be approved by the city. So we're looking at doing some branded cups that say, you know, say Auburn Old Town, Auburn Downtown, easy to distinguish so that law enforcement can look at that and go, oh, they obviously got that from, you know, one of the businesses that are participating. Another thing to be able to make sure that people are of age, there's also going to be a stamp involved. So even if somebody brings back a cup later on, if they don't have the stamp, they've not been carded, they've not been checked by one of these ABC businesses, and they would have to go through that process or probably walk out if they're underage. So that's how the kind of the checks and balances work. But the business district go, well, you know what? If we put these cups together ourselves and we do it so that we have like a 10% markup, 20% markup on them, then we can use that money to return it back in the district and do more entertainment during the summer. So more evening activities that would keep people coming back to Old Town, keep people coming back to downtown, which plays into kind of this transportation thing we're looking at and how we can connect Old Town and downtown with some type of form of transportation. So this is just the beginning of a lot of that. So, you know, they also want to know what the days are of operation. So looking at a lot of the co-ops are on Thursdays, which is Old Town, Downtown now, because they both share it back and forth. They have a very good relationship of working together now. There was a discussion about a lot of the profit that they get is from their alcohol sales, so they didn't want it to infringe on that. So both districts are opening up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., except for on Sunday, we cut it off at 9 o'clock to be good neighbors for those people that have to go to work and basically shut it down and tone it down. Except I put a provision in there that says that if there's a holiday on the following Monday, that that they can remain open on the Monday with the entertainment zone, and the Sunday goes till 10 o'clock. So I tried to think about all the things that could possibly work out there. We did limit it to 12 ounces of alcohol that can be consumed on the streets at a time. That was on purpose. You know, if you have a 16-ounce beer, that's a pretty decent sized cup of alcohol. If some of the businesses out there don't want people bringing alcohol into their establishments, it doesn't have people just sitting there, you know, throwing back 16 ounces of alcohol. It also, if you have if you have a 12-ounce beer, then you're more likely to go back and get another one and maybe shop around and enjoy yourself in the district a little bit more. So we're limiting beer to 12 ounces. We're limiting wine to 5 ounces. We did put a provision there for mixed drinks, but they have to be mixed. There's nobody selling shots out on the street. It's going to be 1 ounce of alcohol mixed with whatever the remainder will be for 12 ounces of a mixed drink. So I did think about, you know, what people like in all aspects and regards, but did have some mindful thought and discussion with the districts about how we do this really business planning, and keeping the sizes small means that even though they're the business that's buying the cups may take on a little bit of cost there, they could probably charge for a 16-ounce pour and people wouldn't even know the difference because they're just, you know, enjoying themselves out there. So that's on the business owners though to figure out if that's how they want to do it. So working with the police chief, that's where we came in with these enforcement provisions. We can revoke individual licenses. We can revoke the district operations. We can suspend operations out at the district level, and try to really think about all the possibilities there. So again, second reading will be on Monday. If that goes through, I'll be working on a resolution that'll create the licensing fees and how that works, along with the license that we'll then bring forward. So question.
Okay, great, excellent. So it sounds like you say second reading is before council on Monday,
27th.
and the intent is to have the whole thing in place by Thanksgiving.
That's the fastest case scenario.
Yeah.
And we probably won't have really great signage out there. You're probably going to see things like the A boards that we have, you know, at the public works.
Yeah.
We're just, while we're starting out and really feeling our way through this.
Is there a point where you would need action from the commission?
Planning Commission, no. We discussed this, and even though it has the word zone in there, the approval for the use, the thing that people are already doing there does go through you guys, whether it's a legislative action that creates that use or whether there's a use permit that's involved with it. This is in addition to that. It's ancillary to what's already been granted. So if you have an ABC license out there and you've gone through whatever process you have to get there, then you're able to operate under these provisions with, of course, the guidelines that are there.
Okay. Were you intending to take questions or comments from commissioners?
I can do whatever you'd like, Chair.
Commissioners, questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Kramer.
Can we make a change or propose a change?
We can discuss a change.
Okay. So it's not unraveling the whole ordinance. It's under 124.03, conditions and operating standards. Under item B, alcoholic beverages may only be transported and consumed in city-approved non-glass and non-metal containers. What I would suggest is non-glass recyclable containers and allow aluminum metal because those are lightweight, recyclable. The only truly recyclable cup.
I should have outlined this. That is one of the few statutory provisions that are out there. The state law says you cannot have, we just put in what state law says, you cannot have glass or metal on the street containers. And we intend on doing recyclable containers, by the way. That's, or compostable, one or the other.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple questions, John. Are there any other immediate local Gold Country towns that have a similar provision for outdoor entertainment?
So it's really interesting because we started this. I don't want to say we're the pioneers, but we got out ahead of it. I talked to the county recently, and their economic development folks are like, there's this thing called entertainment zones, and you really should consider doing that for Auburn. I'm like, do you want to see a copy of my ordinance? Because I'd love to share it with you. So I actually gave them our ordinance so that they could get a start on it. So yes, there's a lot of discussion about it. I believe Loomis just had a city council meeting, and they
Mhm.
discussed it themselves. Yeah, it's good. There's several cities around locally that are discussing it. I know like Reading recently did one. There's one over in on the coast. What was that? Fort Bragg just did one. These are just the ones I can think of. Sacramento's already had them. I think they're on their third one now that they're setting up. It came out of San Francisco because they did it during an event or during events. And that's kind of the nexus we had to put in there for the licensing because a lot of times it's just for their events. So the cities would go, okay, this doesn't go into effect unless we have an event, and then this is how this operates.
Yeah.
We've kind of turned this into an economic development thing for the
Right.
community and go, okay, well, we got a license here. That's our license or our nexus to actually have people implement it, and we're going to try something a little bit different. So we're
Still have those events.
absolutely
like
still
the-
plays in the events, but
Yeah.
also creates something that a lot of the other communities don't have right now, but are
Well-
probably working on right behind us.
I wonder, do you see the evolution of perhaps outdoor seating or development of outdoor plazas for seating? So that people can't stay
Right.
outdoors but have places to sit and not
Right.
just roam the street?
Right. Pocket parks, those kind of things. This really plays into the design that we worked on for Washington Square. So in Old Town, you have the big triangular asphalt area in front of the post office and the ale house. And of course, the idea was to narrow the street there and put in a plaza. If you think about it now, people would be able to sit in the plaza area, and then we made the other side kind of open with plugs over there so people could actually do entertainment. So they could have, evening entertainment every weekend out there the way it's set up, or it's going to be set up as soon as I can afford to do it. So, but yes, there'll be lots of ideas that come out of this, and we're going to be working on it until we
I
really-
assume that plan is still in the works.
yeah, no, we have the civil engineering plans for it. We're ready to go. I need the funds to be able to bid it.
So in drawing the limits, did you get any objection from, say, Old Town Pizza or any
There
of the
were-
other small breweries that are?
Right.
around?
We actually had discussions with them, but the problem is, again, the logistics, because we have to be able to control people within this area.
Mhm.
And if you have them going across Highway 49 with with a beverage, it becomes dangerous, probably some liability on our part. And again, how do you regulate it? I mean, you just have people wandering off down Highway 49 there to get to the other side. So we start out small. Old Town wants theirs to be bigger. There's even discussion about trying to connect the two at some point. So you could have Josephine play into it and anybody else.
Right.
But again, this is just the beginning of hopefully something great. If not, we'll shut it down and try something else another day.
Very good. Thank you.
Commissioner Kramer, you had another question?
Just a request is that, I understand the urgency on this, but, it would be nice if major items like this could come before the commission before they go before the council.
Sure. I always like to keep you guys in the loop. I'm just a little behind on this one. Or maybe ahead on this one or the other.
I'm sure it was a
I don't know
rush.
where my position is.
I'm sure it was a rush. Okay, thank you, Jonathan, for the informational presentation. I appreciate that.
Always here.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on forward this evening. We've got 4 different public hearings to go through. Just so the audience is aware of the process on these public hearings, we will announce the item. Staff will introduce the item for each one separately, obviously. Introduce the item. Planning commissioners will have an opportunity to ask staff of any questions that they have of those items. Once that is completed, then we will go to public comment. And I would like to ask the applicant of each of these items to speak first, to kind of introduce the item. That is followed by other members of the public that want to make a comment on that particular item. We ask that you always come to the podium, introduce yourself, name, address, and then limit your comments when you're making public comments to 3 minutes apiece, please. And then after that, commissioners would have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. And from there, hopefully, we can come up with a motion to move forward in one form or another. And that is obviously followed by a vote. So that's the process that we're going through this evening. So just so everybody knows. Okay? So the first item is the appeal of the denied administrative permit for the fence height in a setback, which is file APL 25-04. And with that, I would like to ask staff if they would introduce the item.
Good evening, Chair Hyatt, Vice Chair Kramer, and Commissioners. I am your Associate Planner with the City of Auburn, and I'll be presenting the staff report for item 4A on the agenda, a request for Planning Commission approval of the administrative permit to allow for a 6-foot fence and the required setback of 265 Swenson Court. On August 4th, 2025, the property owners of 265 Swenson Court submitted an administrative permit application to construct a 3-foot rock retaining wall along the street side and front property boundaries and a 6-foot wood fence along the street side of the property only, not extending into the front. The property 265 Swenson Court is a single-family residence located in the R1 zoning district. The 3-foot retaining wall is allowed within the required street, side yard, and front yard setback of a corner lot without a permit per Auburn Municipal Code 159.264A2. However, the 6-foot tall wood fence within the required 12.5 street side setback may only be permitted with an approved administrative permit. A notice of application was mailed to the owners of abutting properties and the property directly across the street on September 3rd. And 2 objections were received within the allotted 10-day period. I see the letters of opposition as well as the letters of support in attachment A and C of the staff report. The concerns noted included undesirable aesthetics and traffic safety. Pursuant to Auburn Municipal Code 159.476, if opposition to the application is received, the permit shall be denied and the applicant may elect to appeal the action to the Planning Commission. The owners of 265 Swenson Court were notified of the automatic denial and elected to appeal to the Planning Commission. See the applicant's statement in attachment A of the staff report. The building department reviewed the application, determined a building permit is not required for the scope of work. Public Works Department conducted multiple site visits and determined the placement of the wood fence meets the site distance requirements determined by California Department of Transportation and does not constitute a traffic hazard. There are current photos of the property included in the staff report. Based on the scope of work and conditions of approval, staff recommends approval of the administrative permit. The property owner is in attendance and prepared to answer any questions of the commission, and I'm also happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Great. Thank you very much, Laura. I appreciate that. And so with that, do commissioners have questions of staff? Yes, Commissioner Kramer.
Thank you. So mention's been made about the wood fence, but there's also that black metal, which is about, what, 30 inches? And that's in the setback, but that's not a concern?
No, that's also permitted outright for the code.
And not requiring a further review?
Right, does not require a building permit.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Lundberg.
So, Laura, if I have it straight, so the rock retaining wall meets the setback requirement. The existing wood fence meets the setback. The existing ornamental fence meets that. So why was the application originally denied? Was it because local opposition?
It's just the wood
the only reason?
fence. The 6 foot, so within the 12.5 side yard setback, the maximum fence height allowed, wall or fence height allowed is 3 feet.
Okay.
So that's why the rock wall is allowed. The fence is set back off of the rock wall, but is 6 feet tall within that required setback.
So that the existing wood fence is allowed per the setback, correct? The one
The-
that's on the side yard?
Sure.
This particular one, the work had already been done. So we're actually retroactively going back. So when you say existing wood
Yeah,
fence, it's
what I'm
only
looking-
existing in the sense of through the administrative permit process.
So this doesn't meet the setback requirement?
Correct. That's why we're doing the administrative permit
Okay.
because unbeknownst to them, the work was being done. While it was being constructed, our Public Works Department had noticed it and asked them to stop until they go through the administrative
Okay.
permit process.
So no one's asking for additional wood fencing around
Correct.
the rest of the property?
Correct.
This-
This is, the photos that are depicted in the staff report are as it is right now.
And that's what is being requested of us?
Correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Kramer.
So, if there is a protest, it's an automatic denial that triggers the commission to consider it, right? Okay, thank you.
As is the case for all the public hearings we're hearing tonight. Yes. Commissioner Hobbs, did you have any questions?
No,
Okay.
straightforward.
Okay. I too would agree that it's pretty straightforward. However, I think it's also important to point out, Tia, you had commented that at one point, Public Works went out there, saw that construction of the fence was beginning. There was some discussions, and I believe that the fence was moved back slightly from where it was being constructed at that time. And so the wood fence that we see today is actually set back somewhat from where it originally was constructed. I tend to think that that's an important point and that people ought to know that. Okay, thank you. Yes.
And so what are the neighbors truly objecting to? The fact that the fence doesn't meet the setback requirements, that they feel like it blocks their views? What's the objection?
The objections included traffic safety concerns, and undesirable aesthetics.
The Public Works sort of confirmed that there's not a traffic safety,
Correct.
okay? It's just the aesthetic thing.
That's my understanding as well. But I'm thinking that we're about to hear from some of the public who might have opinions on this in a little bit. Commissioner Kramer?
Yeah, so it would appear that the setback that they created from that reconstructed fence or where they relocated it is about 2 feet.
Without taking actual pull tape measurements there, that's what it appears. I say that because in the front setback where the wrought iron fence is, the contractor had depicted the rock wall to the ornamental fence of 24 inches. So it appears to be the same, but I'm sure that the property owner can confirm either way.
Any other questions from the commissioners to staff? No? Okay, with that, let's open it up to public comment. As I mentioned earlier, I'd like to hear from the applicant first. Is Adam or Aubrey the Burkholder? Yes, would you like to come up and explain the situation, please? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Adam Burkholder. I am the property owner of 265 Swenson Court in Auburn, California. Just a little bit of historical context on this project, and just to clear up a little bit of confusion. So the fence itself was not moved, but the rock wall was reduced in height. So the fence setback was already in place, and that's where it's been. It's already had I believe it's about 24 inches all the way around. But the rock wall was initially closer to 4 feet. We lowered it down to the 3 feet to be in compliance there. But as far as the objections go, we have one objection from a direct neighbor, and then all the other neighbors have provided letters of support as provided. And the other objection is from a non-neighbor who lives within the cul-de-sac. So they just heard word of mouth and presented their objection in that manner. But as we've noted, the public safety concerns don't seem to be affected by the position of the fence. So I'm requesting approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so with that, are there other public members that would like to speak on this topic? Ah, we don't have any, but it is true. Yeah, you commented and we have in our packet, there were 2 letters against the fence, but there were 4 responses that, had no active no aesthetic or safety concerns. I'm sure that myself and all the other commissioners have been out there and looked at it ourselves. And so with this, do commissioners have questions of the applicant?
Were you just not aware of the setback requirements when you built the fence originally, or?
Correct. I hired a contractor. He was unfamiliar with the local code as far as the rock wall height and the requirement for the fencing. So once Public Works came out and had expressed the concern and stopped the project, we put the project on hold for about 2.5 months during the administrative permit process.
Any other questions of the commissioners, the applicant? No? Okay, I have a comment. I mean, I think I've been out there. You've put in a rock wall. In my opinion, it looks nice. There's a rock wall at the, I don't remember if it was right adjacent to you, it was the next door neighbor or a couple of neighbors down. They also looked very similar. It seems like you've been working with staff well on this. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that you came in to speak with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you all for taking time.
Certainly. So with that, do we have a motion?
I would move to adopt Resolution 2506, approving the administrative permit AP 2025-03, allowing for an increased fence height within the street side yard setback located at 265 Swenson Court as presented to the Planning Commission.
And I would second that motion. Staff or Laura, would you like to take a roll call?
Chair Hyatt,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Aye.
Commissioner Lumberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Hobbs,
Yes.
and Commissioner Galliard is absent.
Okay, well, congratulations. With that, you have a unanimous vote to allow you to, to adopt the resolution 2025-06 for the administration permit allowing for the increased fence height.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in. Okay, so that was our first item tonight. Our second item is an appeal for a denied administrative permit for a short-term rental at 180 Greenfield Avenue, APL 2025-01. And Laura, would you like to introduce this item?
Yes. Next, I'll present the staff report for item 4.B on the agenda. A request for Planning Commission approval of an administrative permit to allow for short-term rental at 180 Greenfield Avenue. The owner of 180 Greenfield Avenue submitted an administrative permit application on May 20th, 2025 to establish a short-term rental at the property. The 180 Greenfield Avenue property is an existing vacant single-family residence located in the northeast portion of the city within the R1 single-family residential zoning district. The 1,675 square foot residence consists of 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms on an 80 to 92 square foot lot. Attached to the residence is a 2-car garage and a paved driveway with space for at least 2 vehicles to park. 3 off-street parking spaces are also located directly in front of the residence. See the aerial photo and site plan included in the staff report. No changes to the structure or the site are being proposed. Staff reviewed the application and confirmed the proposal meets all of the requirements in Auburn Municipal Code 159.510 through 521, short-term rentals. A notice of application was mailed to the property owners within a 100-foot radius of the property on May 21st, 2025, and 2 objections were received within the 10-day period. See attachment A in the staff report. The concerns noted in the objections included fire safety and a potential increase in noise and traffic. Pursuant to Auburn Municipal Code 159.516B, if an opposition to the short-term rental application is received, the permit shall be denied and the applicant may elect to appeal the action to the Planning Commission. The owner of 180 Greenfield Avenue was notified of the denial and elected to appeal to Planning Commission. The short-term rental ordinance allows for properties operating as a short-term rental with an approved administrative permit, but failing to operate in compliance with the operational requirements and standard conditions listed in the code may be brought back before the Planning Commission for additional action, including revocation of the permit. The property owner is in attendance and prepared to answer any questions. I can also answer any questions the Commission may have.
Thank you, Laura. And do commissioners have questions for Laura? Yes, Commissioner Kramer.
So if there were problems, how long would it be before it would be brought up before the commission typically?
If complaints were received, staff would address them immediately. And then if we don't have a meeting scheduled, we need to schedule one. Otherwise, it would go to the next Planning Commission meeting.
So it'd be a matter of a couple of weeks.
It
Did-
could be, but we would make contact. You know, the city would make contact with the property immediately regarding whatever the complaint is.
I'm a little unclear your question. You say if there were problems, you mean like noise problems? What types of problems were you thinking about, Commissioner Kramer?
Well, you know, what the provisions say or conditions is that if there are problems that would come back and they were serious enough, they would come back before the commission
Right.
for consideration of revocation.
Yes.
And so I was wondering what kind of a time frame that typically would be.
I think that would depend on, because we would be reliant on the complaints going through PD, through code enforcement. So if it was a noise or traffic, parking, anything like that, that would not necessarily come to staff immediately. Protocol is going through code enforcement to open up a case. And so going through due process there, is it a one-time offense? And this is why then the property owner has to be within communication or an hour residing of the property to be able to address those. So the good neighbor brochure has to, you know, they have to follow all these operating standards procedure on that. But we don't, as staff, get to know if there's any issues unless code enforcement, it's routed through them and then we go through this. So again, offering somebody their due process, if they repeat offender, something like that, then we definitely have to bring it back to Planning Commission. We have not gone through a full cycle of a short-term rental issue if it's a noise ordinance, just like we have with any other property within that. So if it was Friday night at 11:30, it can be the property homeowner next door that is offending, or it could be the short-term rental. It still goes through the police department. Right? And then so whether it's addressing that noise ordinance on a one-time basis, case by case, or if it has to go through, open up a formal code compliant case and they have to do due process there.
Okay, and then my other question is, has this been in operation, do we know already?
That's a great question to ask for the applicant. Again, it's hard for us to know what short-term rentals in the city are operating unless we are diligently going through Airbnb or VRBO to find that out. So,
But with this particular application, there haven't been any problems.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Hobbs, did you have any questions?
On this one, I'm wondering about the text in the Good Neighbor brochure. One of the things brought up in the comments was about fire. And we are in this area in a high fire severity area zone. And that Good Neighbor brochure doesn't make any comments to that effect. So how quickly or easily is it for us to improve that Good Neighbor brochure?
Oh,
Because I believe that's really a true thing that people coming to this area to vacation may need to know and need to know about the exit routes and
yeah,
we
no, absolutely.
evacuate here.
So the Good Neighbor brochure is just giving you the top three, right, issues that we normally have is parking and noise, so forth. The conditions of approval for the short-term rental, which I put in your staff packet for you as just a draft so you could see, all those conditions, in addition to the Good Neighbor brochure, is included. If we need to amend that through the ordinance, we absolutely can, because yes, you're right. We are in the new maps have been drawn. We're in the local fire hazard and the high fire severity. If we need to help with that on the Good Neighbor brochure by just making neighbors aware, then that is something that, yeah, we should probably amend the ordinance to include that. We would include fires, fire departments, comments on that and bring that back through council for adoption.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Kramer?
Well, and also, did you want to point out the condition M modification? Which, because short-term rentals, all of them now pay the TOT.
Correct.
It
Mhm.
isn't limited to the three.
Correct. So that did get amended in the Auburn Municipal Code for August 25th of this year. However, in our short term, as you did note, item M, we will address that and have fixed that in our draft. So moving forward, that item will reflect the correct municipal code.
So, when we consider this, should it be approved, we would say as amended,
Mhm.
because the condition M was going to be fixed to reflect the current
Correct.
ordinance.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. If that concludes commissioner comments to staff. Oh, Commissioner Lundberg.
Couple of questions on
Yeah.
this. So this reminds me of a similar issue that came before the planning commission a while back, perhaps 2 years ago, and it was essentially the same thing. If there's local opposition to the idea of property being converted to a short-term rental through Airbnb, whatever platform happens to be, if the neighbors object, then it's denied. And that's in place for a reason of saying there's concerns about protecting the character of the neighborhood, noise concerns, type of people you're bringing in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My question to you is, shouldn't it stop there?
The ordinance allows for due process, so land use appeals.
Right, but then it's sort of like
Mhm.
put on us to say, okay, now let's forget the fact that there's this rule, right?
Well-
That's in there for a good reason, and then debate the whole topic all over again.
But
Right.
then the ordinance goes beyond that too. I mean, the ordinance is threefold. The staff reviews it, and if they deny it, then the applicant has the opportunity to come before planning commission for us to review it, study it,
Right.
and act upon it. And if they don't like the outcome there, they also have the option to take it a level higher, which is up to city council. So
Yeah.
that's the due process.
Yes, thank you for that.
Mhm.
So, but some of the items that came up during that last episode, that are still valid here, I think, are, so a short-term rental rented out as a residence to, say, a single family? That's not multiple families, right? It's a single family residence.
Mhm.
It would be a single family renting it for a minimum of how many days? 2, 3? You would have a constant turnover if it's a popular destination, right?
Yeah, it's under 30 days. I mean, anything over 30 days, 31 plus days is considered a month-to-month long-term rental. So anything under 30, that's where the TOT transient tax comes into play. And that's essentially what the Airbnb VRBO
Mhm.
short-term rental is.
So I think some of the concerns are justified, that there's going to be a lot of turnover, a lot of different people coming in and out. Not to mention the fact that what it does to the longer-term rental market. I think we're all aware, you're certainly aware of the effects of Airbnb, not only locally, but nationally and on a global scale. It's devastated short-term rentals or long-term rentals in cities all over the world and driven up prices for everyone. And it's a big problem with cost of living right now. So do we perpetuate that? Do we put it on the planning commission to perpetuate that situation?
Well, remember, Commissioner Lundberg, we're not here to solve national issues.
I know, but it speaks to the larger issue. It's a single entity that speaks to the larger problem.
Well, if I may,
By all means,
I would just point out that each of these comes to the commission on a case-by-case basis.
absolutely.
I recall the issue I would recall that the issue that was brought up with that particular application, and the reason that was denied was because of the unique situation that was before us with regard to that property. So I would say that they're not the same. I would disagree with you.
I would agree completely with Commissioner Kramer's comments that each one is a case-by-case basis. Each one is different. And that we should not look at it as a whole picture, especially on a very large scale. Okay?
Yeah, I respect that opinion, except I think each example is part of a whole. And
Okay.
whether that particular case warranted a separate consideration or in another city, in another state warrants a different consideration, it's an aggregation of all of the situations contributing to the problem.
Okay. I might suggest in the interest of time that we move forward unless there are other questions of commissioners to staff. Okay, so with that is Doug Houston here. And would you like to take a couple of minutes and to explain the situation here?
Absolutely.
And
thank
then
you.
allow us to
Sure.
ask a few questions of you, please.
Please. Yeah, so my name is Doug Houston. I reside at 180 Greenfield, and I want to say I do reside at 180 Greenfield periodically. And thanks for granting me the opportunity to address the commission this evening. By way of background, in addition to my day job, I'm also a board member at the Placer Land Trust, and I also sit on the Old Country Fairgrounds Board of Directors as well. Probably not aware of it, but I also was a Parks Commissioner for Placer County, an Economic Development Commissioner, and I don't envy you folks because I too was a planning commissioner about 17 years ago with the city. So first, in support of the application, I want to share that as Tia or Laura mentioned, I'm in full compliance with Auburn municipal codes currently. And the next, I want to respond to the objections lodged by my neighbors. A theme that's been shared by the neighbors is increased fire risk by virtue of this permit. So both letters seem to draw this corollary between Airbnbs and enhanced ignition risks. And I would respectfully submit that this assertion is not substantiated. In my research, I have found no correlation between the two. The implication that short-term rental guests are somehow more prone toward fire ignitions is just false, and it's unfounded. So if this is a volumetric issue where there's an increased human presence at a property, therefore it's higher fire risk, traffic. I just want to submit to you that this home is used less than 150 days a year between my guests and myself. And I do use this home. I use it. I have 3 boys. They come home for holidays. We use this home. I love my neighborhood. And so it's going back to my comments. I also want to mention that I have conventional homeowners insurance. I don't have California Fair Plan. This is a high fire rated home. And importantly, when I present or provide information to my guests in terms of their entrance, departure. I'm very specific that there are no outside ignitions on my property, smoking, barbecues, whatever the case may be, because I'm very, very sensitive to the fire risk in the area. As a policy in terms of tenants or clientele, I only accept those folks that have an unblemished history with Airbnb. What does that mean? 5-star rating. They can't have any history or record of any sort of violations in the past. And with my professional affiliation with endurance athlete circles, I represent what's called the California Outdoor Recreation Partnership. I have established a network of new and returning guests for our frequent events. And in fact, it's rumored that I was honored to host this year's female winner of the Western States 100 at my home. So I'm very proud of that. And I hope to use my home and interface with my guests as a surrogate ambassador for the city of Auburn, the endurance capital of the world. So another issue registered by my neighbors, the fact that a short-term rental will disrupt the solitude of our otherwise quiet neighborhood. And to date, I am unaware of any disrespectful or disorderly guest conduct. And again, per the Auburn Municipal Code, I require sound devices are not activated after 7 o'clock, and there's no outdoor engagement after 9 p.m. So in closing, again, reiterating, I love my home, I love my neighborhood. I bought there for reasons enjoyed by my surrounding homeowners, and Greenfield will be the place where I retire ultimately, but the current circumstances have me splitting time between Auburn and Folsom right now. So should this permit be approved and issues arise, I invite my neighbors to contact me. They have my phone numbers rather than burden the city. And I promise to be responsive to legitimate concerns, and hold myself completely responsible for any violations, if any, should materialize. And thanks for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Houston. With that, are there questions for the applicant? Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Limber?
Yes, so your primary reason for not renting the property as a longer-term rental would be because you do use it personally from time to time?
do.
Your family and,
I have
And you wanna
boys,
have
I
it
have one in
available.
Boise. I mean, they all descend on Auburn periodically, and I want to make sure I have a loci for them when they return home with their loving father.
and you said 150 days out of the year? It's
Probably less than that, honestly. I think for this year, I'm projected to probably rent space. Somewhere around 50 to 55 days, and then my personal use is probably the same.
And you've reached out to your neighbors and offered your contact information so that they don't feel like they are in a
My
position
neighbors
to
have my
to
contact
enforce?
information, the neighbors
Okay.
of concern.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Hobbs, any questions? No? You have any questions? Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah, please.
So when you rent it, you're obviously not living there. It sounded to me like you live in Folsom when your unit is being rented out.
Oh, yeah, I'm within
Okay.
the required distance to be able to respond to any concerns and
Yeah,
complaints.
and I think that's quite appropriate. I'm sure you know, in the ordinance, the requirements are if there's any kind of an issue, you need to be within an hour distance of your unit.
I do know.
Clearly Folsom is within an hour of Auburn, so that takes care of that. Thank you.
Unless there's a traffic blockage at a certain circle that enters into the canyon right now, and then I can't.
As there
publish
was
anything.
today, as there was today.
Yeah.
Yes, we know who to thank for that. Let's see, the next question I have is, I believe your neighborhood is of the age where there probably are not CCNRs. Is that true?
Yeah, staff reached out to me. I have no knowledge one way or another. If that's the case, my home was constructed. It's mid-century modern. Hope you've had an opportunity to take a look at the photos. It's a wonderful home, architecturally and aesthetically very pleasing, and built in 1958, probably
Right.
prior to any CCNRs.
Okay, I think those are my only two questions. So with that, thank you for
My pleasure.
your discussion. We
Mhm.
appreciate that. Are there any of the individuals that wrote letters citing the fire risk or any other concerns here that would like to speak on their behalf? Can you please come to the podium, introduce yourself, name and address, and then we'd love to hear your comments.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners, and thank you for the time you spend on this. I appreciate that. I didn't realize we were going over resumes tonight, but I tell you, I'm a past member of the Elementary School Board here in Auburn, on the Governmental Relations Economic Development Committee for 10 years for the Chamber of Commerce, appointed by the Board of Supervisors to be on the Economic Development Committee for the county, which I gave up about a year and a half ago. And requested by the fire chief to be part of the strategic plan for the fire department here for the city of Auburn. Anyway, my name is Chuck Heiselman. I think I said that maybe. I reside at 161 Greenfield Avenue for the last 24 and a half years. I'm directly across the street from the applicant's 180 Greenfield address, and I came to the area in 1966. I have my primary request is for you to deny the short-term rental permit that's before you tonight. And also request that, as you see appropriate, that you assess any back fees, charges, penalties, interest for noncompliance with the municipal code. I think not doing so sends the wrong message to the public at large and to the neighbors. So I'm going to focus on three things: code noncompliance, parking, and fire threat. The online reviews indicate that this has been used as a short-term rental since 2017. It was also purchased in 2017. During the years since, there is no evidence in the city portal of a business license, no approved short-term rental permit, and apparently no remittance to the city for TOT, late fees, interest, penalties, et cetera. Even after the permit denial, which was referenced earlier by staff, which I believe was in June, the applicant has continued to illicitly operate this as a short-term rental. Parking is seriously out of compliance due to the lack of off-street parking, total number of vehicles, and parking violations. I'll discuss parking next. The assessor parcel maps are very clearly demonstrate that the paved roadway and shoulders are not privately owned and are therefore ineligible for consideration as off-street parking. I think staff indicated that they were allowing 3 for that, which should not be allowed. Also, the garage is never used by renters, which takes away another 2 spaces. And the driveway, for probably the last 6 months, half of it's been covered by bark or wood chips, leaving only 1 space, which is sometimes used. Just generally, I would note that it's not uncommon to have 3 to 4 vehicles parked on the street, on the public street, not off-street parking, and parked occasionally in the wrong direction. They're often oversized, meaning full-size truck, full-size van, extended van, and full-size trucks with bed-mounted additional storage. It's not uncommon for there to be overnight parking on the public street and parking in excess of 72 hours. Fire threat, which I understand from the comments earlier that I shouldn't be concerned about. The subject area is actually in what's referred to as the city's very high fire hazard severity zone, which I learned about working on the strategic plan. That's the red zone, and there's a map of it on the city website if you haven't had the opportunity to see it. Prior fire chief has indicated in the past that house-to-house transmission is a serious threat here in the Auburn area. And unfortunately, we lost a home just 2 blocks from where we reside in August. Fortunately, the fire department here in Auburn was able to keep that from spreading to an additional home. I myself have turned in fire at an adjacent common property line home. So it's a real threat. It's a real concern. And I am concerned about out of the area renters not showing the same level of regard to the threat that's before us here. We don't want to be like paradise. I would just mention that probably tomorrow, I've already authored an email to the city council requesting that there be no short-term rentals approved and the others, any existing ones be eliminated in high fire threat areas like the red zone that I just referenced. The neighborhood itself is unsuitable by its very nature for short-term rental due to fire threat and lack of off-street parking. In addition, it's intrusive to the existing homeowners, so I'd request that you deny the permit application. Happy to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you for your discussion, your presentation. And with that, I'd like to have some discussion amongst the commissioners. Comments amongst any of you who would like to start. Oh, excuse me, my mistake. Thank you, Commissioner Kramer, for keeping me on track. Do we have anybody else that would like to discuss this item? Nobody else? Okay, thank you. Mr. Haselman?
Heiselman.
Heiselman,
Yeah.
thank you for coming and presenting. You can take a
Thank you.
seat.
There were no questions of me.
I don't think so, unless commissioners had. I did not have questions. Commissioners, did you have questions?
Well, from what I gather from your statement, you do feel impacted by this short-term rental,
Oh, very much so.
and it's in a negative way.
Very
And some of
negative.
your other neighbors who have written in have also expressed similar feelings.
Similar, you should, and I hope you have before you, because one just came in today, counting mine, probably at least 4 objections, 4 different neighbors.
Yes, I think we did receive that just as we walked in this evening. We did.
So even though I do appreciate the applicant's commentary and I do believe he would be a good steward, apparently some of the renters aren't quite respecting the terms of good neighbor policy the way they should. And this goes back to the original statute that says if the neighbors don't like it, then application is denied. And I think we should stand on that.
The comment that I have, with regards to the back fees, I'd like to discuss that with staff. I don't think we need to discuss that at this moment, but as something that should be brought up and discussed in the future. Another comment was with regards to parking. Looking at the floor plan of this unit, it looks like it's 3-bedroom. The ordinance requires 1 parking space for every bedroom. It looked like there were about 2, as I drove by, it looked like there were about 2 parking spaces in front of the residence. And it looked like there was at least 1 in front of the garage, maybe 2 in front of the garage. I didn't see parking as being an issue, in my opinion. Actually, I don't think we have any other questions of you. If you'd like to take a seat, that would be fine.
Yeah,
I
just
think-
comment on your remarks there. I believe there were, in the staff report, there were 2 parking spots for the driveway and or garage, and then 3 in what I would consider, based on the assessor parcel map, on-street parking, which I'm basically challenging. I think there is a map in there, but it's not an assessor parcel map that shows the boundary lines and location to the street.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't looking so much at the map as I was my own observations from being at the site. So I was not looking at
Right,
this as a
okay,
parcel map,
very
but
good.
it appeared to me that there was ample parking for 3 vehicles. Okay,
If you allow them to park on the street and overnight.
correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. Okay, like I say, you can take a seat. And commissioners, do you have other questions or comments? Yes.
Can
Commissioner
I
Howell.
ask staff one question? In front of this home, in an area that would have been, appears to have been a landscape strip, because I drove by it too, it's paved. Is that parking associated with the home because it would have been a landscape strip?
Being that I don't have pictures to show that it was ever landscaped, I mean, we wouldn't know that. Public Works looks at it. We don't have that typical grid system in our planning that says back of curb is the property owner. But in this case, it really depicts where the back of the asphalt ends on the street and then it's concrete in front of it. It very well could have been landscaped at some point, but it almost shows like they're parking in their own 20-foot front yard setback if it was a new home that we would require.
Right, that's what I was,
And
that's
that could
what
be.
I was trying to get at.
Again, it's from, a house built in the 1950s and we didn't do street sidewalks and curbs and everything then as well.
Yeah. It looks like it's off the
Mhm.
asphalt. So not in the asphalt, not in the path of
Correct.
travel. Okay, and then also to staff, can you take a note that perhaps we should update? I'm cognizant of what the property owner is doing, understanding that they're in a high fire severity zone, very high fire severity zone with their. Okay, I thought it was high fire at the beginning too. I understand what you're doing and I support that, but I think we could do better. Can you take a note that we can
On
take
the Good
action?
Neighbor brochure
Yeah.
and actually put maybe the maps or something like this and something from fire because since we've adopted the new maps here over the summertime with the State Fire Marshal and CAL FIRE, I know our fire department has been working diligently just for, we're in the education, right now with the public of just being, giving them as much information as you can and how you can create by when we adopted the zone 0 for the 5-foot radius. So I think that is something through that educational process that we can do with fire is to help create that, maybe with another handout with the Good Neighbor brochure. We do it with our building permits right now for how to create that fire barrier for the 5-foot radius around. And we already have that as a handout. We can most certainly can add something similar to that. Not a problem.
Perfect. And I think the evacuation process is also important to add. Because they're not going to know if they're a short-term person in here, they're not going to know how to.
Correct. And so with Placer County right now and the new maps and working with OES, we're updating the local hazard mitigation plan for the ingress egress in and out of the city. So that is a project that we actually have our third, I think, in-person meeting with the county OES department, I think in the next couple weeks with staff. So those maps are actually being created right now
Okay.
to update it because of the new change.
Perfect.
May I leave you copies of what I took off the Placer County website for assessor parcel maps?
Certainly, please mail them to staff and then staff will relay them to us. Oh, you've got them here. Thank you. Okay, questions or comments from other commissioners? Fair enough, yes.
Well, as I recall from the last discussion we had on this similar topic, we talked about compromise solutions that would still allow the property owner to generate rental income from the property when it's not being used by himself or family. But then also mitigate the negative consequences of turnover and churn that are generated by short-term rentals. And there is a substantial market for what we call the mid-range rental, which often involves itinerant workers, visiting medical personnel, other types of people who are going beyond the 30-day but aren't trying to sign it up for a year. So those are what I would term a mid-range compromise solution that I think would tend to solve some of the neighbors' concerns in terms of parking problems, potential noise.
Actually, let me respond to that. But I appreciate your comments, but remember, this evening, we are here to either approve or deny an administrative permit for this short-term rental. I think your thoughts are, Commissioner Lundberg, are very good thoughts, but that is not our goal for this evening. Okay. Did you have questions or comments, Commissioner Kramer? Or thoughts?
No, I'm ready to move forward.
Okay, I too am ready to move forward. Do we have a motion? or should I make a motion? I will make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-07, approving the administrative permit, allowing the establishment of a short-term rental located at 180 Greenfield Avenue, as presented before the Planning Commission this evening.
We'd second that, but it would be as amended with condition M.
And condition M was the comments to the
No, it's a,
TOT.
yeah, right.
Yes,
Commission M, that was
Thank you.
in August of 2025. So we'll change the language in the permit
Correct.
to match the ordinance.
gotcha. Thank you very much for the correction on that. Do we need some discussion, further discussion? No? Okay. Laura, would you like to take the vote on this, please?
Yes, Chair Hyatt,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Aye.
Commissioner Lundberg, Commissioner Hobbs,
Yes.
and Commissioner Galliard is absent.
Yes. Okay. So this is passed by a 3-1 vote. Congratulations, Mr. Houston. I would like to comment, though, that there were several things discussed during this, and it is very important to note that we need to look at each of these in a case-by-case basis. They are not all the same. And I think we did a good job of that. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Moving on to this is appeal of denial administration permit for a short-term rental at 133 Olive Street, APL 2025-02. And does staff have an introduction on this?
Yes. This is for item 4C on the agenda, a request for Planning Commission approval of the administrative permit to allow for a short-term rental at 133 Olive Street. The owner of 133 Olive submitted an administrative permit application to establish a short-term rental. Property is a single-family residence located near the center of the city within the R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District. The 1,938 square foot residence consists of 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms on a 6,522 square foot lot. Attached to the residence is a 1-car garage with a paver driveway with space for parking, and 3 additional off-street parking spaces are located directly in front of the residence off of the paved roadway surface. See the aerial photo and site plan included in the staff report. No changes to the structure or site are being proposed. Staff reviewed the application and confirmed that the proposal meets all the requirements of the short-term rental ordinance. A notice of application was mailed to the property owners within a 100-foot radius on August 28th, 2025, and 2 objections were received within the 10-day period. See attachment A in the staff report. The concerns noted in the objections included potential changes to the neighborhood and potential increases in noise, traffic, and parking congestion. Pursuant to the short-term ordinance, if opposition is received, the permit shall be denied automatically, and the applicant may elect to appeal to the Planning Commission. The owner of 133 Olive was notified of the denial and elected to appeal. The short-term rental ordinance allows for properties operating with an approved administrative permit for a short-term rental, yet failing to operate in compliance with the operational requirements and standard conditions in the ordinance may be brought back before Planning Commission for additional action up to and including revocation of the permit. The property owner is in attendance and prepared to answer any questions of the commission, and I can also answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Questions of the commissioners to staff? Commissioner Kramer.
How about the history on this? Do you have any unusual or issues with this property? If it's been used as a short-term rental? We don't know that.
We don't have any.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hobbs?
Well, I just have a discrepancy in reading it. It's saying it's 4 bedrooms, but when you look at the plan, there's 3 bedrooms. Is there something I'm missing? Okay.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll hold on to that
Okay.
until you speak. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well then my question might be somewhat related. At this point, this is of staff. It appears that the applicant is not looking to use the garage as one of the parking spaces. And if staff can't answer that, I will ask the applicant in a few minutes. But you did comment that there is one parking spot in the driveway and then 3 additional off-street parking. Okay.
Based on the aerial.
Right. Okay, because yeah, I went by there and when my observation, it looked like there was 2 off-street parking, but I didn't get a tape measure out.
And I didn't either. So I'm just estimating.
Okay, well, I will ask some of those questions of the applicant later. Did Commissioner Kramer or Commissioner Lundberg, did you have any questions of staff? Nope. Okay, with that, with the applicant, are you Tammy Ewing? You could come forward, introduce yourself, and let us know your thoughts on this topic.
Hey,
Introduce yourself. Let us know where you reside, please.
It's Tammy Ewing, and I reside at 133 Olive Street. It's my primary residence. I don't own another home. I don't rent another. I'm a realtor in Auburn. I work for Wesley and Associates. But being a realtor in Auburn isn't the most, lucrative all the time. So I do have a wonderful 77-year-old mother that lives in Rockland. And every once in a while, if I can rent my house to people that are going to a wedding in Cool or a golf course in Auburn, because that's all I vet my people to. They usually have grandchildren. Then I go stay with mom for the weekend, and it kind of helps me pay my property, to be totally. I bought the house 3.5 years ago. It does not look like what it looked like when I bought it. I do a Google search, but it was very rundown and dilapidated. I've spent a fair amount of my retirement making this house what I want it to be, because eventually I won't have to rent it. I'll just retire there. I have redone the driveway. That paver did not exist when I moved there. It was potholes and it was awful. I trucked in some gravel, those parking spots you see in that picture, because I don't want to park and step in mud in January. So this is not your normal short-term rental. It's just me trying to get by. I have it set up with Airbnb. I've never had a complaint. I will tell you that. I used to have a rental in Tahoe in the 90s. And I learned then what to do and what not to do. I do, for anybody else that short-term rental, I have a couple precursors. There's a device called a Minute device, MINUT. Looks like a smoke detector. You put it in the hallway. It texts me if the decibel level in my home gets over a certain level. It will say in the house, the decibel level in the home has reached the limits. And it texts me. It'll do it again 20 minutes later if it's still too loud. And then I got to get on the phone. I didn't technically get 2 complaints. I got a husband and wife that don't live on my street. And I think maybe they might have been a little confused because there's some people building some ADUs down the street. And I think they might have thought that was me, but that's not me. So there might be some confusion, if that makes more sense. I also have so many things put in place. Oh my goodness. I have, I go stay with my mom. So I'm only in Rockland. I brought my handyman with me because God forbid, the sink has a problem. I've got people immediately, and I've done this for a long time now. I haven't done this for a long time with this house, but I'm just trying to get by with it, if that makes sense. That's why I'm trying to jump through the hoops. The reason I'm here, to be totally honest, I didn't know I had to do this. I started a year ago with a property manager because I was trying to do all the right things. And they don't know to jump through the hoops with the city, or at least that was my experience. So I fired him because I got a letter from TOT. in May. And they're like, oh, we've been, we were acknowledged that Airbnb, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know I wasn't doing something right. So the reason I found out to even do this, just so you guys know, was the nice gentleman at TOT reached out to me. I've now filed 2 quarters. We've got through the hoops. We've done everything. He's like, okay, but you got to do the permit now. Then you got to do the business license. And I'm like, okay, it just takes a couple months to get through this. So I've never had a complaint. My neighbor next door, Carol, both of our houses were built in 1925. We've both redone them and they're beautiful. She's 88 years old. If anyone was gonna complain about me ever having someone stay at my house for the weekend, it would have been Carol. No one on my street. Her daughter lives next door. The people next door, Eric and Gresha, are my sweetest neighbors. They're like, can we use your green can? We're doing landscaping this weekend. So it's no one's complaining because I would never let that happen because it's my home. So if you guys have any questions, I have answers for all of it because I just wanted you to know that I'm really made it an effort to I don't want to act like I'm a hotel because no one wants that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
You're
your
welcome.
presentation. And so now I'd like to open it up to commissioners to ask questions of Tammy Ewing.
Oh, the 4th bedroom.
Well,
It's a dining room now.
okay, so it's a,
Because the closet's only, because the house is so darn old. The closet is this big. And I get legally, as a realtor, you can call it a bedroom. Okay. No one's using that as a bedroom. So there's no real space for a nice sit down, formal, I want to have Thanksgiving dinner dining room. So I turned the 4th bedroom into the dining room. So it really only has 3 bedrooms.
okay, so my question that follows up with that is, if I were to go out onto Airbnb and look, and I do frequently,
Go ahead.
what do I see as the maximum occupancy for your residence? Is it 6?
6 adults, 2 children under 12.
Okay, that answers my question.
And I have that all set up. And by the way, I did because I read, they've been so helpful, by the way. Tia, and you guys have been. Laura has sent me all the things. She's like, okay, this is just what you know. These are the rules, right? So I read through all the rules, making sure, because I don't want to show up not knowing the rules. Very easy. Here's my availability. No more than 28 days. You know why it's 28 days in the state of California? That's a transient. If someone stays at your house for more than 28 days, they can squat at your house. So I know you guys think it's 30, it's 28, where people can squat there. They get a piece of mail and they're there for over 28 days, you're in a nightmare. There's a Netflix show about it. Don't watch it. I know. And then here's my parking spots. My husband redid the driveway. So it was awful when we first bought it. And then part of when people walk in, if they do rent the house for the weekend, I have a little cute setup with my business card with my phone number, my email, and then it's like, here's how you can contact me immediately, 24 hours a day. And then on the back is your good neighbor brochure. I scanned this and I put this in my welcome message for Airbnb. So in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning before people get there, they have to acknowledge receiving this. You guys updated. But I jumped through the hoops to make sure everybody's on the page because I don't want Carol, my neighbor, to get mad.
Okay, I've got a couple of other questions.
Okay.
Once again, as with the last residence you heard about, I believe that this neighborhood is old enough where there is no homeowners association, no CC&Rs. Is that correct?
I actually,
Okay.
because I'm a realtor, I called Placer Title because Kurt Roth's my buddy. And I was like, hey, I know there's not CCRs because the house was built in 1925 and CCRs in what, the 70s? So he did confirm with me today.
Right, okay. And then the garage, it's pretty narrow. I'm assuming that you don't park in that
You
garage.
know what fits in it? You're not going to believe
Does the
this.
Mini Cooper fit in
You're
it?
never going to believe this. No, because I have kayaks and I like to go to Lake Clementine. Maybe, Lake Natoma. A 2001 Tacoma fits in it with 2 inches on each side.
Okay.
And it's the most stressful thing to park in your entire life, but it does.
Okay, thank you.
Noah has to help me. I'm like, get in there and back me in. Oh, it's so stressful. But I found a car that fit in it, not a Model T.
Fair
Right.
enough. Fair enough. Do other commissioners have questions? Yes.
Yes, so You mentioned this is your primary residence.
It is.
Okay, and you rent it out a few days out of the year?
At the most, 2 weekends a month at the most, and that's generally like wedding season. Because it just really helps me financially, to be honest. But it's still my home. So you have to realize when you're renting out your home, if you want someone to stay in your house this weekend, you care.
Well, that is nothing like a commercial proposition,
Correct.
which was the original intent of Airbnb in its
Correct.
founding, before it morphed into a,
Yeah. And I understand that. And I do. I get it. That's just not what I have because I like to live there.
right, thank you.
Like I have a winter garden and a summer garden. And that's not a rental house.
Good, thank you. Other questions? No. Do we need to have any discussion amongst ourselves? Nope. Is there a motion to be made? Okay, I will make the motion. I move to adopt resolution 2025-08, approving the administrative permit allowing the establishment of a short-term rental located at 133 Olive Street, as presented in the Planning Commission meeting this evening. And amended by M. Thank you. Hey, Laura, would you like to take a roll call, please?
Yes. Chair Hyatt,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Aye.
Commissioner Lumberg,
Yes,
Commissioner Hobbs,
Yes.
and Commissioner Galliard is absent.
Okay, congratulations. You have passed by an overwhelming majority. So thank you for coming in and presenting tonight, and I hope your business does well. I couldn't find you on Airbnb. The others I was able to find, but well, I've been by. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I'm sorry I made a mistake. I didn't ask if there was anybody to speak in opposition, but noticing that there's one couple left here this evening, I think I concluded who that couple was. And yes, okay. Have a good evening. Okay, so that moves us to our last public hearing, which is the appeal of the denied administration permit for a short-term rental, file APL 2503. And this is a short-term rental at 10670 Sunrise Circle in Auburn. And staff, would you like to introduce this item? Laura?
Yes, it's going to be a bit repetitive, but I'll point out all the same information. The owner of 10670 Sunrise Ridge Circle submitted an administrative permit application to establish a short-term rental at the property. Property is a single-family residence located in the southeast area of the city within the R1 single-family residential zoning district. The 2,517 square foot residence consists of 4 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms on a 23,258 square foot lot. Attached to the residence is a 3-car garage with a paved driveway with space for multiple vehicles to park. See the aerial photo and site plan included in the staff report. No changes to the structure or site are being proposed. Staff reviewed the application and confirmed the proposal meets the requirements of the short-term rental ordinance. A notice of application was mailed to the property owners within 100 feet radius of the property on September 3rd, and 3 objections were received within the 10-day period. See attachment B of the staff report. The concerns noted in the objections included potential changes to the character of the neighborhood and potential increases in noise, disruptive behavior, speeding, traffic, and security concerns. Pursuant to the short-term rental ordinance, if opposition to the short-term rental application is received, the permit shall be denied automatically, and the applicant may elect to appeal to the Planning Commission. The owner of 10670 0 Sunrise Ridge Circle was notified of the denial and elected to appeal to the Planning Commission. The short-term rental ordinance allows for properties operating with an approved administrative permit for a short-term rental, yet failing to operate in compliance with the operational requirements and standard conditions listed in the short-term rental ordinance may be brought back before Planning Commission for additional action up to and including revocation of the permit. A representative of the property owner and manager of the property is in attendance and prepared to answer any questions of the commission.
Okay, thank you very much. Do commissioners have questions of staff?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Lumber.
Is this intended as a commercial property to be rented out full-time as a Airbnb?
It's intended, I don't know, I'm not sure how to answer that. It's a short-term rental of a single-family resident,
Perhaps my question's better directed to the applicant.
maybe.
Okay. Then let's hold on to that till and ask the applicant when the time comes. Commissioner Kramer?
Any history of issues with this property?
None that we're aware.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hobbs? No, okay, and I too have no questions of staff. I will have several questions of the applicant though. But with that, is it Aaron Casey Klein? That's your son? Okay, because my understanding is they are the owners and they reside out of state, but you are the property managers, correct? Okay, and would you like to? Okay, and if you would like to approach the podium, present your name and your address, and then describe the situation, please.
Sure. We are Danny and Bonnie Klein,
Okay,
and we live at 980 Matson Drive here in Auburn.
Madison?
Matson, M-A-T-S-O-N,
Okay, thank you.
over off of Luther Road.
All righty. And your opinion as to why this this denial of a short-term rental should be appealed is what? Could you explain that, please?
Well, Aaron and his family come back 4 to 6 times a year and stay in their home. They originally decided to Airbnb it as to give us some supplemental so that we could stay in California and Auburn. And but we have been very, very careful with rented it to. We don't live in Auburn City, but we ourselves have our home on Matson Drive that we also manage as so we were unaware, and Aaron was unaware that we had to have, that he wasn't in compliance with the city. I'm sorry about that again, because of Tot. That's how we found that out. We screen all the guests very carefully. I think one of the biggest things is this number 4 and 5, Danny. They have external cameras.
Yeah, we have, you can't, obviously with Airbnb rules, you can't have interior cameras.
That's against the
Mhm.
rules, of
But
course.
we have cameras in the backyard, on the back patio, and over the garage doors showing down in the driveway, and the Ring camera at the front door. So we monitor, I have the alerts turned on, so every time there is any kind of movement at the wrong timing, I'm on it, opening up, looking at the camera, at the recording, and I can go live. And we monitor it very close. We have not had a single complaint.
We also have had in monitoring, even though the home is large, we only allow a maximum of 8 people. And we can tell whether that's being or we can see coming in the home. We also, because of just the neighborhood, Aaron is very good friends with. And in fact, he communicated with them afterwards when he didn't realize that a letter had been out. In fact, I have an email here returned from Jordan Meyer, who's one of the people opposing, saying that, "Hi, Aaron, thanks for your letter. I wasn't aware that your home had already been listed on Airbnb, and I appreciate you letting us know. So far, we haven't experienced any issues." And I think that's because he said, please just know that our main concern is safety, especially being aware of who is in the neighborhood and having to keep the traffic speeds down. We appreciate you screening the guests. So we, for instance, with the cameras, somebody parking on the street, there's not supposed to be any street parking at night.
Right.
We will contact the guest, tell them you have to.
The driveway will hold easily 3 vehicles.
Yes, yes, I've
If you
noticed
put
that.
8 guests, you do not need. I think there's only been, I was, when a prior person shared how many, I looked back really quick. About the same, about 100. Because they'll come back and visit for Christmas for 2 weeks, for Thanksgiving for a week. They'll bring our grandchildren to us for 2 weeks during the summer. We also, the neighbors that we check with the neighbor when you're looking at the house. The neighbor to the left has been very helpful, just with Aaron moving, contacting Danny, saying you've got a sprinkler line leak, things like that. And
They also have, their backyard has very close access to our backyard patio area. So they are the neighbors that if there's going to be an issue, they're the ones going to notice it. And I talk to them every time when someone leaves, checks out, I check with them and say, how did it go? Noisy, loud, too late, too early, anything.
we haven't
Nothing.
had any complaints from the neighbors at all, but first of all, we're very concerned that the home be taken care of properly. And so just from our own selfish viewpoint, we don't want to rent to people who are going to abuse the home
And this
abuse the neighborhood, because Aaron and Casey care about their neighbors.
And this particular neighbor who wasn't very positive in the beginning on the whole thing didn't even realize who it was he was talking about. And once he did, he sent this other email and said, and he really backtracked.
So
And,
according to our knowledge, there's no CCNRs that don't allow it. The big thing with their CCNRs is no street parking. That's
That's
really,
the HOA rule.
right, that's really important.
Because it is kind of on a curve
Well-
of the road and you can't really, if you move over to pass that parked vehicle, you're across the center of the road of a blind curve.
Right,
I
actually,
think
I'm
it's more
familiar
than
with the
this.
curve and I've gone down that. Your street is a little narrower than most.
Yes.
And therefore, there's no nighttime parking. And I totally can visualize all that because I go down that street.
That's why that
once
keeper's
every
up
few
there and
months.
I watch it. And when there's a car
Right.
parked out there, I contact him and say, no, in the
So-
driveway.
Basically, they had moved for almost 2 years and the house has been sitting there vacant. I think they came up with this idea to try to help us. And give us a job that we could do retired in managing it and flipping it and giving us some retirement income and still being able to keep the home in Auburn to come home and see family. All of Casey's extended family lives Georgetown area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty much it, but
Okay.
they are concerned for their neighbor
Sure. Okay.
relationships. Like when they were here last Christmas, they had a Christmas party and had all the neighbors over. They have relationships.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for discussing that, presenting on it. Just so you know, I mean, Vintage Oaks is a very strong neighborhood. Look at Halloween in Vintage Oaks; it's crazy, as I'm sure you've seen. But a very, very strong neighborhood. Vintage Oaks has one of the stronger homeowners associations that I'm aware of, and they do have fairly detailed CCNRs. The entire document is, I think, somewhere between 60 and 70 pages long. But it turns out that there is a part of that which specifically prohibits short-term rentals.
Really?
And yeah, so I'm making comments directly to you, but the short-term rental ordinance agreement per the city of Auburn in paragraph 159.510 purpose B, subparagraph B states this subchapter is not intended to provide any owner of residential property with the right or privilege to violate any private conditions, covenants, and restrictions applicable to the owner's property that may prohibit the use of such owner's residential property for short-term rental purposes as defined in this subchapter. So and that's why you've heard me ask of other applicants tonight, if there is a homeowners association and CCNRs. It turns out that the Vintage Oaks CCNRs does specifically prohibit short-term rentals, anything shorter than, I can't remember if it was 30 or 31 days. So that does in fact violate any private conditions per the short-term rental ordinance.
But do you have reference to a page number or anything on that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. 'Cause
I
we
don't remember if I
actively looked through
printed
here.
that out or if I could go to my phone.
Honestly, 70 pages we've missed.
Right, sure. No, that's, did you guys happen to bring it?
We do have
Okay.
just the 2 pages that you.
I think I've got it in here
Right. So
somewhere,
we
but
printed it and they can have that.
where is okay, so you've got it there. And so what you're looking at, I believe, is the cover of the CCNRs. And then the second page is not, obviously it's not page 1, it goes back a ways. And you will notice that in the paragraph there, it states that the CCNRs prohibit short-term rentals.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Is,
by all means.
is that the page that was distributed to us?
That is correct.
Well, it doesn't quite say that.
Okay.
It says any owner may delegate his or her rights to use and enjoy the common area and common facilities to his and her family members, tenants, leases, provided, however, that any rental or lease may only be to a single family for single family residential use for a term not less than 90 days. That refers to enjoyment of the common area and common facilities. And so I asked staff, I don't see that they have any kind of clubhouse or pool or anything. And so staff went and looked, and they indicated that it's the acres of open space. And so I doubt seriously that a renter would go out and into the open space. It could happen, but I read it as that they could occupy it. They can't use the common area.
Okay, that's an interpretation. I read it differently, and that it didn't allow any short-term rentals less than, I think it was 90 days. Yeah, I've got it on my phone here. Let's see. Let's see. However, that any rental or lease may only be to a single family or single family residential use and for a term not less than 90 days.
But I see exactly what you're
But
saying.
that
because
refers to the enjoyment of the
paragraph
common area.
Uh-huh.
says
okay.
provided.
Okay.
I think the key thing is the word provided.
Hmm. So it sounds like your interpretation is that anybody that's a short-term rental cannot use the common facilities.
My interpretation is it doesn't prohibit them from renting it out short term, but it prohibits them from whoever's occupying it from using the common area.
Hmm.
Can you tell me the definition of the common areas?
The common area was the open space. There's a large parcel. It's like a 24 acre.
Yeah, as you go down your street, on the same side of the street that you're on, go down the street a little bit farther down the hill, and there's a large.
Yeah, it opens up itself.
Must be saying that people can only use the common area if they're renting more than 90 days? That's, yeah.
Obviously, that's something that the two of the commissioners are having a little bit of a discussion on, trying to understand that.
Well, if you're to, in person, walk behind the home, most of the property within square footage is up behind the home.
Yes.
And there's a patio, then there's green lawn, then there's this entire area back there that the only thing we do to it is once a year we'd eat it down.
You know, the open space we're referring to is not that particular area. That's your property or your son's property. What this is referring to is the common space, which is in that park that's on the same side of the street as
Yeah.
you are, but down the hill from
Yeah.
you.
Yes,
Okay.
I understand.
All right. Comments from other commissioners? No? Interesting. See, my thought process is if you had a written documentation from the homeowners association, which allowed you to, in my mind, deviate from the CC&Rs, I would not have a problem with this at all. But my interpretation was that it didn't allow for homes to be rented out less than 91 days. I do understand that there are more interpretations of this statement. So with that, I don't think we need to have any further discussion. It doesn't sound like any of the other commissioners feel that other discussion is necessary.
Well, I would just say that
Yeah.
I share your concern about creating a situation that conflicts with the CC&Rs, but I don't think in this case that it does to the degree that it should be denied.
I see.
Well, it sounds to me like if there's room for speculation, then it's not clear what this statute is talking about. If between the two of you, it's vague, then I don't think it's clear enough for us to be able to render a decision on it.
Well, either that or well, let's see, a couple of comments. You probably didn't hear Commissioner Hobbs make a very wise statement here, and she says that we or the city does not judge on CC&Rs anyway, and I would agree with that. However, we don't want to conflict with CC&Rs. But I do have a question for staff, and that is if this commission were to approve the short-term rental and then the homeowners association were to come to the city with something different, does the homeowners association have a leg to stand on, or will the homeowners association and the city never meet on this?
Well, I guess that would fall under, in the reso, a condition of approval. If we did receive anything retroactively from the HOA, that would deem we'd have to revoke the permit. Because you're right, we don't want to make anything worse, but we don't enforce CCNRs and HOAs as well. That's the property owners do right. It might be a legal question. That I don't know. If you're questioning, do they need to have the HOA approval? And that's what you want to see within a certain time limit, or we're issuing it based on your approving the permit. And if a year from now, the HOA came back and said, hey, we don't allow short-term rentals for you or for anyone else in the Vintage Oaks.
Okay.
It's a good question. It has
Yeah.
not come up, and we don't have a code enforcement. We don't have anything that has happened from this particular property nor any of the other ones in the Vintage Oaks. I haven't had any kind of personal contact with them about short.
Yeah. It was actually, frankly, I'm a little surprised that none of the people that had written objection letters came this evening.
Right. It sounds like there was probably some updated communication. Yes, from when we received the opposition. We received the opposition letters during the noticing period.
Uh-huh.
It sounds like it would be useful to have that communication for the record.
The communication,
If they're willing to share it from
oh, yes.
the complaint.
Rescinding the complaint?
Yeah.
Well, that was that email that we read. That was that one email we read you.
You have a copy of
Well, I know you read it.
Mr. Mauer.
Right.
Right.
He's a local attorney, and
He was under the impression that something new.
Can you give that to
occurring,
staff, please?
That there was going to be a big change. And he did not realize that we had ignorantly been going ahead and using it the way we're allowed to outside of city limits.
Uh-huh.
And,
Okay.
and I can agree to that because Placer County does have different rules. So for you saying we didn't know, we do get that from staff quite a bit when they say, wait a minute, we don't have to do that in the county. And we're aware that
I
Placer
really
County.
accept responsibility for that because I was the one that was doing that work and I was just copying what I was doing for our
For the county, yeah.
Airbnb.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that there were different rules until we were told
Correct. Yeah,
about
and Placer
city
County,
limits.
although they do have short-term rental permits, they don't go through a hearing process and they don't do it down here. It's really for North Tahoe area
Mm.
is
Right.
really where they do their short-term, where you have to, and all you're doing is registering. So it's
Right.
a little bit of a different process than how our ordinance is
Right.
written.
Can I see the document that was just handed to you, please? Not as short as I thought it was going to be. Oh, maybe it is. It doesn't say they're rescinding their comments. Haven't experienced any issues. Okay, well, anyway, with that, is there a motion to be made?
I would make a motion. I would move to adopt Resolution 2025-09, approving the administrative permit AP 2025-09, allowing the establishment of a short-term rental located at 10670 Sunridge Circle as amended to include the famous condition M by the Planning Commission.
We have a second. Do we have a second? We don't have a second.
Well, allow me to explain my position is, although I very much appreciate your comments tonight in your family situation and what you're trying to do. But for the reasons stated earlier in the denial of Mr. Houston's application for the appeal, the same reasoning stands as not a primary resident of the home, intending to primarily lease it out as a commercial venture. That is the issue that I take objection to.
Oh,
Yeah.
but it is, they do consider it, like I said, they did not rent that house out for almost 2 years after establishing another home out of state. And the reason they decided to allow us to Airbnb it, they block out areas when they're going to be home.
Right, yeah.
And then their motive was to, not for commercial purposes, but to enable us to have some additional retirement.
No, I totally
savings.
appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. But I have to be somewhat consistent in my application of how I see these appeals. So, thank you.
I would say your presentation tonight was very good. Your work is quite thorough. I mean, you're doing a lot of the right things to make sure the right people are there.
I didn't say that I didn't second, just because I think what you were talking about, Tia, figuring out some language to put in there that what we're doing doesn't supersede an HOA requirement. If that was included in the motion.
Fair enough. Commissioner Hobb? Well, or Commissioner Hobbs can make an motion either way.
Fine.
Anyway.
To include a condition that it would be subject to what would
Any CCNR /
oh, provided it was not in conflict with the CCNRs currently in effect.
And how would you like that to be known? Brought it back to you, or at staff level, we can get that confirmation from the HOA CCNRs that is not in conflict?
Well, at staff level, I would say, and then if they have a real problem with it, they could bring it back and we could rehash the whole thing.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. At the same time, we have to also, do we have to rule on whether or not during this period of time, which could be a month, can they continue on with their short-term rentals for the next month?
In our ordinance, we don't have like a cease and desist, right?
Fair
We
enough.
have an ordinance for short-term rentals. So it's, as we've talked about before, the short-term rental permit, almost kind of the cart before the horse, right? You
Yes.
get the permit, but yet you can't get the permit until you do all of these things. So
Yes.
if you're operating unbeknownst to staff, and now that we know, we still don't have a technical cease and desist. Our code enforcement, because this isn't an open code enforcement complaint, so they don't have a due process for cease and desist either. So is it a means of, do you want to say until we receive this and we have confirmation that there's no conflict from CCNRs, that they are not? That's just not part of our ordinance on the staff.
Yeah, I wouldn't,
Yep.
my personal opinion is I wouldn't want to be that strict.
Okay.
And did I hear you correctly? There are others in Vintage Oaks right now?
Not that I have right here in front of me. In that area, though, I do know that some have been received administrative permits through the staff level side, meaning we did not receive any opposition, therefore they could have been approved.
Mm-hmm.
So we just, in our ordinance, it's one opposition and And so remember, we wouldn't know about CCNRs because that's not what we're required to do. They have an application and they submit 3 pieces of item for us to do our administrative review.
Correct.
Maybe maybe I should I'll second your original
It can,
because we don't have anything to do with CC.
can you state the motion again so that it's clearly understood by all of us, including the applicant?
Yeah. So I would move to adopt Resolution 2025-09, approving the administrative permit AP 2025-09, allowing the establishment of a short-term rental located at 10670 Sunrise Ridge Circle as presented as amended for condition M, and with a new condition N that says provided that the approval is not in violation of the CCNRs.
Okay. It sounds like we have a second. Okay. And so with that, I'll give Laura a minute to finish writing it down. If you need to read it back to us to make sure that you have the correct text, by all means, feel free to do so.
I think I've got it. So, plus we have video, so I will make sure that it is word for word. Yes, but I will make sure it's word for word. So I'll do the roll call, starting with Chair Hyatt.
Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Aye.
Commissioner Lundberg,
No.
Commissioner Hobbs,
Yes.
and Commissioner Galliard is absent.
Okay, so that passes 3-1 under the condition that it does not conflict with the Vintage Oaks CCNRs.
Yes.
We'll add that in.
And the responsible party for proving that is staff. Thank you. I ask staff. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. I hope this works well for you in the end, and it sounds like in time we will find out.
Thank you so much.
Certainly. Certainly. Okay, so that concludes all of our public hearings this evening. So we have, okay, so we have staff follow-up reports. Yeah. Thank you all for your patience. I appreciate the forward-thinking ideas.
Okay, city council updates. Next city council meeting is next Monday on the 27th. Staff will be bringing, it doesn't really affect, but just so you guys are in, every triennial building code cycle. We are in that. The 2025 building code adoption amendments will be going to council for adoption, first reading, second reading in November, so that those will take effect January 1st. I don't think Jonathan had mentioned it, but I know you guys are familiar with the vacant building ordinance that he's talked about with council. So it was what? What council members had asked that we do more public outreach with the commercial property owners. So he has scheduled on October 30th downstairs in the Rose Room at 6 o'clock. There will be a commercial property owners workshop just to have a one-on-one with them as requested by council. I guess everyone's welcome to come, but it's really with the property owners. There is, let's see, as far as for council meetings, Monday, the 27th, and then November 10th, no meeting the 24th for Thanksgiving holiday. The first meeting in December 1st, is the city council reorg. Everyone's welcome to attend. The new mayor changes hands. I think there's one more meeting for council before the end of the year is December 8th, and then everyone will go dark until January. For us, we are scheduled a joint meeting with Historic Design Review on November 18th. We do have a couple presentations. Barry Miller, our general plan consultant, will be here to do a presentation on just where we are with the general plan update. We have one last community workshop outreach that's going to be held somewhere here in town. We haven't had that determined yet, on December 3rd, I believe. That's our last one before we start. We're in the EIR right now before we bring it to Planning Commission for formal recommendation to council. But at least the general plan update, just where we are with the new land use map, some zoning changes, where we're at on that. I think that'll be helpful. We've had enough months that have gone by that a lot of work is happening with staff and the consultant level that it's now time to bring it back to you guys, just so you see how much from the focus groups where we are right now. We do have another fence height appeal that will be on the agenda for the 18th. And if we all remember from last year, the folks for Sluice Box,
Oh, yeah.
vacant parking lot, they have taken the considerations that were made from the commission last year. I'll have to go back and watch the video of what those were. But they would like to bring just another presentation. They're not ready for formal historic design review permit, but they do want to do an informal presentation of just taking those considerations. New elevations, new signage. That's on the 18th. We have a couple slated for some design review permits. They may or may not be ready. We're waiting for the applicants. If we have to move those, I wanted to find out what December looks like. We would have one December meeting, December 16th, if we needed to push any of the Novembers. Otherwise, we would wait and go January 20th. So I don't know what calendars look like, vacation, holidays for you all. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine for me too.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So if it's something that we need to do just before the end of the year, we can do that. For sure, January 20th will be our first of the 2026, where we'll do our reorg here for the commission.
That's 120.
Yep. And just a couple updates as far as for city holidays. City staff were closed on November 11th for Veterans Day. We do have council the night before closed, and then we'll pick back up on Wednesday. The Thanksgiving holiday is the Thursday, Friday, the 27th, 28th for City Hall closed. And then, you know, where we go dark at the city from December 24th to January 2nd, somewhere right around there, almost as 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So then just plan that we'll be back in January. I believe that Vice Chair Kramer, you will not be attending live on our November 18th, but you'd like to attend by Zoom.
I plan to attend by
Okay.
Zoom,
So we're
and,
going to set that up for you, and you'll have your own Zoom call-in.
and I will be reclusing from that fence
Correct.
item, which
Oh.
he's across,
Complex.
they live across the street from it. So it's well within the,
You are well within the notice across the street.
So question, when we do a Zoom, the screen comes down and he's on the screen.
Yeah, we'll probably,
this room.
yes. And when he recuses himself, we'll probably have you remove yourself, something like that. Yes, so what we'll do is normally clerk sits here. Amy will be doing that. Right now, she had her laptop up. If we were doing presentation, we just do a share screen and a Zoom. So the way that we're operating this is just like council. We're YouTube live stream right now, so we don't have public calling in on this. We'll have a separate Zoom for public hearings to call in. And so yes, that screen will come down and we'll do everything from either clerk here or Laura and I'll have a laptop set up to do a screen share.
Great.
So yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's all that I have. And I knew this was going to come up, so I printed out our weekly newsletter. Public Works did such a great job, because I know you're going to ask what's going on about the roundabout. So this was just.
I couldn't believe, I eventually turned around today. I mean, I was headed through that area and I finally gave up.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Public Works just typed that up and I thought that would be helpful instead of me trying to explain where we're at and why we haven't got this darn thing done.
Rail Pros is doing the sewer. Wow.
Any follow-up questions on that, please direct those to Public Works. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Correct. That's, yes. Yeah, that will come after in the spring. It's supposed to immediately follow the general plan adoption. However, I know some time has gone by and it's sat. We'll probably have to bring it around again for a couple, just a refresher for community-based workshops like we did last year. I'm concerned, Jonathan and I had talked about it, and it's like, we know it's so relevant. We're still working through it, but I think half the people probably forgot about it. So we'll probably just do a refresher.
Okay.
No changes have been made to it. It's the same as what the last time we had met. We just knew we needed to shelf it until the general plan was done. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's necessary for review. I think it was just because I think for commission, we'll probably just, hey, remember, this is where we're at. I think for council, I think it's just a refresher. We have no intentions of making any changes the way it was. I don't think it's going for formal public noticing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes. Trust me, staff would love to get this right behind the general plan adopted as well. For the form-based, I don't anticipate anything happening dramatically overnight. I mean, we're already built out, so to speak, and for a lot of these existing older buildings to be able to retrofit for a third story is very costly, right? Seismic, and how do you really do that? But at least it's there and we have the ability. We just don't have a lot of the infill vacant lots for someone to build. So again, it may take years, but at least it's there and it gives staff we don't have a lot of design review guidelines for new development. I mean, the aesthetics we really bring to the commission and say, do you like it? Right? We have very basic. So the form-based code will help really solidify when a developer comes in and says, I want to do this. And it's like, okay, it's very objective. Here's the boxes. Here's what you can do. Great, you can get a permit. So, I mean, right now we're very subjective on what is a color that's similar to the existing color.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shade. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we have to bring everything.
Yeah.
So this will be helpful. Let's just get through a 33-year-old general plan first.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have anything more? All right. Should we adjourn? But I'd
Well,
like people to stick
I-
around for a moment.
Well, I would like to ask staff to provide, I don't know if it's a report, but I had raised concerns on after the Ace Hardware project was put in and the trees were eliminated,
Oh, yeah.
so that there is no landscaping in there, and that there's no landscaping on the back of the building as well. And I think there are landscape requirements for the building. So I'm kind of wondering what staff, if this is in progress or why it's not being
Yeah,
followed.
twofold. So they did not meet the landscape requirement for parking lot buffer based on what they were doing. It's like a 25% expansion. So they didn't meet that requirement. They currently have, along with a grocery outlet, an encroachment permit for the backside to replace the landscape. That is actually the encroachment permit from Public Works will not be signed off until their landscape is put in. So they've each have sent us what their landscape design is to add to the back for that buffer. And again, I just spoke with Public Works about this a couple weeks ago and just said, where are we at on this, just to make sure the consistency and those trees are getting planted. and the shrubs, everything's in. So I can follow up with Public Works to see where they are on that, but they do know not to issue approval of that encroachment for the removal of the trees that they did do until we have new landscape in.
Well, that would address the backside,
Uh-huh.
but in terms of the front, it wasn't that nothing was removed. It was, there were trees that were removed.
Correct.
They
And-
were wonderfully, they weren't wonderful trees, but
So two of the trees, I do know for sure, they had an arborist go out there. They had maintenance. One was in the Ace Hardware side, one was on the grocery outlet side, and they were actually uprooting the sidewalk and the asphalt in there. Those were removed based on Public Works reviewed it, fire reviewed it as a safety concern, and so to not plant those trees back into that asphalt area.
well, yeah, but there should be a method to replant trees somewhere in there, whether you put them in a little planter or whatever. But just because it breaks up the pavement means you look for other solutions. So
Yeah, is there not a tree coverage requirement for parking lots?
There is, they did not meet, they were under that requirement.
Because of the additional.
They didn't have
footage
any,
of
yeah.
Additional space.
Yeah, the land
For-
buffer that's required, yeah,
Ace Hardware though.
correct.
But looking at the
Hmm.
whole complex in totality, there's,
Correct, but they're
there's no
two separate
trees.
parcels. Yeah, they're completely grocery outlet and Ace Hardware are two separate parcels on there. So we thought, okay, the removal of the trees in the back and the issue that they were having because they had transients that were staying back there. So they asked if they could pull encroachment, clean all of that up. We asked for low shrubs. They don't have to put trees back there, but something in the backside. So we were able to get that from the back, have grocery outlet and Ace Hardware work together consistently so it does look uniform on that back sidewalk because they technically are two separate property owners on two separate parcels. So we were able to do that, but at this time, nothing in the front. We've even talked to Caltrans because you can see all the way up 49, all the landscape that is done at back of sidewalk there. Those were done, Caltrans said that those were done at the developer at the time when they were doing the back of sidewalk. But as you see where the new sidewalk is along 49, there is no room now to do any kind of landscape there in that. Caltrans,
front
where the
of-
brick wall, where the.
in
rock
front
wall
of
is.
grocery outlet?
Grocery outlet.
Well,
and-
there's a strip of land between the sidewalk and the,
Yeah, it's nothing that Caltrans will do. We've asked them, would they do the sidewalk and do landscaping, and they said no. It would be on the
Caltrans-
city to do. The
So-
city or developer.
so is there a chance we can get the city to do something there?
It's funding.
Okay. So if the funding was available, we could talk about,
Well, what about the developer?
Yeah, I mean, it comes
well,
down.
I'm talking
have
about
a-
city beautification.
We have a lot of requests for that whole 49 corridor to be landscaped. I mean, all the way down from like Crooked Lane
Mhm.
down. We would love to. It's funding for sure.
Okay.
So I'm not quite giving up on this. Because what we're trying to do in the long term is prevent heat islands.
Correct.
And that parking lot for grocery outlet and Ace, there needs to be a method to be able to introduce at some point some tree canopy and beautification for that. Because that's supposed to be done for shopping centers.
Mhm.
And so, in fact, when you put in a new shopping center, you have to put in the swales with the grass
Correct.
in there. And so this is in stark contrast to that.
Yeah, and if it were new development, absolutely, that would be required.
Yeah.
But it's existing development that's been there. They're not expanding. If they were to expand and it falls within the landscape buffering requirements of the 25% gross floor area, then absolutely.
So I would like to ask staff to look at ways to at least replace the trees in some manner
Mhm.
in the front of that development.
Well, or isn't the other thing to when staff has time, and I know you have a lot of things going on, but look at modifying what the ordinance regulations are. Because right now you say that if they expand and it's under 25%, they don't have to do anything. I don't know what their expansion was, but
It was interior. They did.
it seems like a better way to do it is if maybe you minimize, or you change that from 25% to 10% or something like that.
And you're aware, I mean, of our municipal code, most of it's from 1973 as well. So that is
Yeah.
also at staff and city and legal. We've all talked
Yeah.
about it. We understand we need to do a huge zoning text amendment.
Yes.
So we're trying to do the ones that we know are the most time consuming and outdated. For example, our ADU ordinance is extremely outdated and it's only a few years old. So after the first of the year, that is something that we will be bringing back to you to update it so that we meet the state standard requirements. So there's quite a few things
Yeah, okay.
we're aware of. The fence height.
Yeah.
That is something that we should probably talk about as well.
Yeah. Okay. Did we have any other business? Can I ask that we adjourn, but then I would like to have a stick around for just a minute if we can. Oh. Okay. Well, and actually what I wanted people to stick around for is
Yeah.
how many of the commissioners have met Laura before? So I was wondering if Laura could take a moment to tell us about her. I mean, I have met you before and you've told me a little bit about you. Thank you. But it's just always good to get to know people. Yeah.